Hello, everybody. Welcome to UnPontificated. My name is Voyo. Excuse me. The elections are coming up, but I'm looking forward to the debates. We have our French debate tomorrow, which is Wednesday, and Thursday we have the English debate. I love debates. I'll be watching both. I don't speak French, so I'll be listening to the translators. But yeah, I always find debates very interesting. We're coming down, what is this, day 24? Looking forward to the election coming up soon. Have you guys decided? I hope you have. I hope it's Pierre Poilievre. You do not want Mark Carney. You don't want Trudeau 2.0. You don't want someone who's better at being Justin Trudeau than Justin Trudeau is, because he's a lot smarter than Justin Trudeau. He's more connected than Justin Trudeau. He's richer than Justin Trudeau. He's of the Davos elite. So this guy, guys, he wants to keep our resources in the ground, not out of the ground. So whatever he's talking about, don't believe him. Anyway, let's move on. Show you guys. Have you guys seen the sheer ad, the commercial? Let's see here. Boom.
You guys aren't texting again, are you? I thought this was over, man. I mean, you said you were out. You were telling me how terrible the last 10 years were. As a friend, I barely even recognize you anymore. You lost your house. They drained your bank account. You maxed out 3 credit cards. You couldn't even afford groceries. And the drugs, man. And we're not talking about half a joint after the kids go to sleep to take the edge off the day. We're talking meth. I mean, that's not you. Oh, they've changed. Yeah, right. Of course they're going to say that. They're going to say anything they think you want to hear. And then guaranteed, within a month, it's going to be right back to the same old stuff. And guaranteed, they're going to be asking you for money again. What about all those foreign students living in the basement? And that weird arrangement with that guy from Burnaby for 2 years? What was that about? Man, if you think that this is going to be any different than the last 10 years, it's not. This is who they are. Don't be fooled. It's up to you, man. Offshore tax havens? Dude, Bermuda.
All right, that was pretty funny, but true. So I hope you guys will listen to Mr. Scheer. He knows what he's talking about. Well, what are the polls saying at this time? We'll go to the CBC poll tracker. They say it's a average of all the polls out there, and this is what they're saying right now.
Where are we with 2 weeks to go?
Pretty much the same place. We haven't really seen much movement. So if we take a look at where things stand right now in the poll tracker, which brings together all the polls that are being published throughout this campaign, the Liberals are still at 44% support. And nationally, the Conservatives are at 38%, so it's a 6-point gap between the two parties. The New Democrats are just under 9% support across the country, the Bloc Québécois at 5%, and the Greens at 2.4%. So that 6-point gap that we've seen between the Liberals and the Conservatives for the last few weeks, it does seem to be holding pretty firm.
Okay,
so there you have it. According to CBC poll tracker, that's what you see. Now, I saw this on another show where Kevino'leary was on, and this kind of showed a breakdown of the electorate, so to speak, and you can see that the Conservatives are ahead in all categories except the 60 plus. The 60 plus, you see where the Liberals are way ahead of the Conservatives. In every other category, the Conservatives are ahead. So this is a very interesting take. So basically, are the people who are picking up the phone and filling out those surveys 60 plus, most of them, and those who are, under the kids and under 60 are really not even answering the polls, or less of them are answering the polls. So this is the skew on the polls that we don't get from CBC and some of these other pollsters, Nanos, Leger, Abacus, and all these guys. So this is a very interesting stat, and I think CBC and CTV and these guys should pull up this stat as well, because it's an important stat to point out. But no, they're not going to point that out. Anyway, yeah, so that's very interesting. Guys, the point is go out and vote. We have to go out and vote. You have to come in and vote out in droves. You see the size of Pierre Poilievre's rallies, much bigger than Carney's rallies. So let's do the same when we go out and vote. Go out and vote more than the Liberal NDP vote. Because it certainly doesn't look like the NDP people are coming over to the Conservatives. Looks like they're going to the Liberals. So we really need to come out and vote. I saw another interesting show. Let's see here. This was on EWTN. This is a Catholic show, Catholic program. So EWTN is talking about the Canada's election and the Catholic concerns. Let's take a listen. Some interesting points that they talk about.
Part of the calculation for voters in this election is which candidate can best stand up to threats from the Trump administration. And from a Catholic perspective, which candidates will stand up for Catholic values. Reporter Mark Irons spent last week in Canada to bring us this election preview.
I do go to church, but I have to say it doesn't really influence my politics. A lot of the traditionally contentious issues within faith communities, like things like same-sex marriage or abortion, I mean, Canadians, I think, by and large, consider those issues settled.
So-called settled issues come with a cost.
There is no protection for children in the womb. No restrictions, abortion on demand.
Though respect for innocent human life isn't an issue being discussed among leading politicians, some Catholics are speaking up.
I can't think of a more important issue than the issue of abortion, where we're violently slaughtering 100,000 preborn children every single year in Canada, which amounts to 300 babies every single day.
And with an expansive Canadian euthanasia law, the sick, elderly, and disabled have become victims too.
There's a lot of people who are alone and lonely in this culture, who feel abandoned, who feel their lack of reason to live. The answer to this situation is not killing them, but that's what we've come up with in our country.
In a phone interview, Bishop William McGrattan, president of the Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops, told us Catholics should let the teachings of the Church guide their voting decisions, which will affect society.
To realize that, our vote has impact on future generations.
But neither one of them defends the right to life.
Mr. Poilievre.
A Poilievre government would not introduce or pass legislation restricting abortion.
Prime Minister Carney, you're a practicing Catholic. You went to church before you visited the Governor General this morning. Do you explicitly support a woman's right to choose? And how will your faith impact your policy deliberations should you win this election?
Thank you for the question. I wouldn't have drawn attention to the fact I went to church, but thank you for noting that. I absolutely support a woman's right to choose unreservedly.
All these leaders, none of them are willing to champion the right to life.
Matthew Wojciechowski is vice president of Campaign Life Coalition. He is encouraging voters to focus on their individual members of parliament. He says some conservative members do hold pro-life views.
When you're voting for your member of parliament, find out where they stand on the life issues. It's that simple. Talk to them, pick up the phone, visit them.
Anyway, guys, just showed you that video just to highlight there's some other things that you might consider in your vote. Obviously, a lot of people right now, when you look at what people are talking about or considering, is the Trump issue and tariffs. They're thinking about jobs, thinking about high prices, they're thinking about housing, they're thinking about how they can feed their families and all of that. And lost in the shuffle is the right to life of the unborn. You hear that issue more so in the States. Here in Canada, like was highlighted by some fellow in that video, issues of gay rights, trans rights, abortion. In Canada, people consider those things settled. They don't want to really talk about them. But when you're considering, especially as a Christian, as a person of faith, as we talk about, the Lord creating life in the womb, the Bible says you are beautifully and wonderfully made, right? The Bible says you thought of me before the foundation of the world. So now the Lord you have the baby in the womb, and someone is just going to destroy that life, end that life. How do you think the Lord feels about that creation that you've just ended, that He started, right? So abortion is a very, very contentious issue, and I think it's a good idea to think individually about your member of parliament. Write to them, visit them, find out where they stand on abortion. Are they pro-life, or not? And that might influence your vote and how you vote in the next election. All right, I wanted to show you something else. I'm going to call this the button drop gate. This one is kind of funny. Not really, but it shows you what is going on in the war rooms of some of these parties.
But that announcement wasn't the only news from the Liberal leader this morning. Carney also apologized for the actions of some unidentified Liberal staffers. The CBC's Kate McKenna has more on that. Kate.
Unidentified?
David, Liberal leader Mark Carney says he apologizes unreservedly after we first reported that Liberal staffers were behind an operation intended to plant buttons at an event for Conservatives. Now, 2 Liberal operatives went to the Canada Strong and Free Network conference last week. This is an event where Conservatives from across the country are able to meet and network, and they planted buttons that had a pro-Trump message, one that said "Stop the Steal," an apparent reference to the 2020 push to overturn the U.S. election results, and an apparent effort to tie Canadian Conservatives to the MAGA movement in the United States. Now, we found out about this because I overheard the people responsible talking about it at a bar last Friday and reported it soon after. Mark Carney says that this behavior is unacceptable, and he apologized.
Look, this is totally unacceptable, to be absolutely clear. And on behalf of my campaign, I was unaware of this behavior, but on behalf of my campaign, I apologize for it unreservedly.
All right, Kate, thank you so much. That's the CBC's Kate McKenna in Montreal. Jono, reassigned within the campaign, they're no longer on the fake button committee. I mean, what do you make of this? I know he had to apologize for it, but this was sloppy and kind of silly.
They're doing door-to-door in Northwest Territories? I don't know. Look, I think Mark Carney dealt with this very clearly, and he said unreservedly but unequivocally.
No, he didn't. These guys should have been canned. Go home and mark your ballot on the 28th for the Liberals, but you're no longer on the campaign. Mark Carney has a history. You saw what he did with the Chang, the guy who said his Conservative opponent should put a bounty on his head. He just was going to let the guy still run, and the guy had to resign because Mark Carney wasn't going to axe him for putting a bounty on his opponent's head. And now he's just reassigning these guys. If this guy becomes prime minister, what is he going to do with ministers or members of parliament to do some nefarious things? Reassign them? Is that it? This guy is showing very bad leadership.
Which was the only answer. And I think, despite what any negative comments you hear out there criticizing Mark Carney, everything that Conservatives or NDPers will say what's wrong with him, I don't think anybody imagines that this is Mark Carney's style.
I do. It's definitely his style. Like, what do we think this Mark Carney guy is? Some sort of angel? This guy's no angel. He was with what's the island guy's Madam Ghislaine Maxwell, hanging out with her. Come on, this guy is not an angel.
It's not something that he would put
that
up
should
with.
also be the war. I say silly because it's silly to talk about it in a bar. Like, you know what I mean?
Well,
like the buttons, like the Jenny Byrne Corey Tonight button, that's trolling. Stop the steal, though. That's even liberals cannot defend that one.
Information.
Right? Yeah, I mean, whatever it is, it ain't good. So sorry, John, I don't mean to interrupt you, because there's been a bunch of other buttons that the conservatives have put out on social media. The liberals in their statement said, some of the stuff isn't ours. I've emailed them multiple times saying, well, which ones are yours? Who exactly cleared this? Because war rooms don't do this without clearance from someone senior in the campaign. And I don't, is reassigned enough for something like this? What do you think?
I don't know.
It's not enough, but I want to show you guys. Lisa Raitt went ballistic. She's kind of good. Yeah, here we go. There's Lisa.
For sure. And it was very nefarious. I don't think it was innocent at all. I mean, I looked up to see what the other buttons were that were out there. I mean, we've done button competitions in the past, but it's usually mocking people. It's not about actively seeking to draw attention to an issue to make it sound more Trumpy than what they are. So, for example, Lock Justin Up was one of them. Wexit Now. Make Canada Great Again. I mean, what is this crap? They should absolutely be off the campaign. They're lucky they're not getting charged. They should be talked about whether or not they're spreading disinformation by this committee in the House of Commons or by this committee of bureaucrats. I mean, this is absolutely outrageous. And for us to tut it away as, oh, well, you know, kids are being kids. The other part, David, that really bugs me, I'm on a roll now. The other part that really bugs me about this whole thing is the hubris and the arrogance of bragging about it and not giving a damn. Like, do they think they're that far ahead in the polls that it's not that terrible to talk about out loud that they're going to get away with it? So, you know what? Toss the lot of them. Mark's got a big problem if he's letting that rot inside his campaign. And if they're only reassigning them, then it's higher up than we expect.
Exactly. So I don't know what the liberals were thinking, because people already think that Pierre Poilievre is little Trump, right? So the fact that you want to throw buttons in there. So when they say lock up Justin Now, that is kind of a reference to when Trump said, you know, lock her up, meaning Clinton, Hillary Clinton. He was saying lock her up. So now they're trying to make that kind of parallel, right? And when they say, obviously, Wexit Now, there's a reference to Brexit, Britain leaving the European Union, and that's the West now leaving Canada. And then, of course, the Stop the Steal is in reference to Trump saying the 2020 election was stolen, and they had stopped the steal in reference to this election, and they put in that MAGA thing as well in the conservative camp. So these guys went into a conservative rally, dropped these buttons around. That's why they're calling it either drop the button scandal or ButtonGate. I don't know how much this is going to affect the election, but it's certainly something that Pierre can use going forward, and we'll see if it comes up in the debates at all. But there you have it, guys. I'm going to see how the debates go. I'm really excited about that. I hope you guys are too. But please go out and vote. Go out and vote, and make your voice heard. So yeah, and consider all those things, but also consider life, the pro-life movement. Consider life and the abortion issue in your decision on who to vote for. I think that's important. All right, guys, please like and subscribe. I'd love to hear from you in the comments as well. And see you next time. Ciao.